We are back. It is the Fight Season Podcast. It's me, Jesse Rowe, with Inside Fighting, joined by our man in the field who actually did a great job at UFC 300. Mike Owens, your first time on the podcast. Welcome. How are you, man?
I'm very well excited to be here with you today, Jesse. And I get even more excited to have our joint guest with us.
Yeah, I buried the lead. We are joined by PFL star Shane Burgos. Shane, how are you? Thank you for joining us again. How are things?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. Things aren't bad right now. It's 88 degrees in New York, which is pretty rare. So it's the first beautiful day of the year. Better late than never, though, right?
It is warmer in New York than it is in LA. It's like 74 in LA. So
I'll take that, though. Honestly, you guys get way nicer weather. Dude, it was like 60 yesterday. It was like 32 the other day. I'm like, this is crazy.
I know there have been like tons of rain delays in baseball to start the year, and they're like the East Coast was getting smacked with storms, but you guys got that humidity problem. We don't have that as bad as you guys do. But
I've only been in California once, and that weather was absolutely beautiful. So
yeah,
you guys definitely have it a lot better than we do when it comes to weather. There's no debate. New York sucks when it comes to the weather.
You guys have got a Brit on here who it's about probably, I don't know the exact calculation, it's about 30, 40 degrees Fahrenheit over here. So just, count both of yourselves lucky that you've got some good weather compared to me.
That's true. Let me shut my mouth. And it rains way more over there than it does over here. So let me count my blessings.
Yeah. Light rain is considered a good day's weather back home.
Yeah. Well, we didn't come here to talk about weather. We are here to talk about fighting, Shane. But first, let's just catch up on you. How are things? How's life, family? I saw that you have a documentary out sort of about your fight camp. Everybody should go check it out. Your documentary, your fight camp with Clay Collard. I actually got a chance to watch it. It was pretty. I was really entertained just like with the process and how much you've sacrificed and how much you've gone through. Just talk a little bit about what's going on in your life and give us an update.
So no fight news or anything like that to break. Just waiting on. I'm gonna be doing the super fight series for the PFL. So waiting on a date and all that stuff. So no fight news to break on that. But my last fight was in August. Yeah, you guys can check that out. That documentary came out amazing. It came out way better than I can even imagine how it was gonna come out. Like the guy that made it, Sam Rivera, amazing. Check out his work. He's done stuff for Joe Rogan and Andy Frisella. So dude's amazing. So he actually absolutely killed that. But life's been good, man. Like I said in the documentary, like I have to make this worth it for my family, I said, and I had 3 fights back to back in the PFL last year. So, and I've been off since August. So it's been a long break, but like I said, I had to make it worth it for my family. And I made great money for those 3 fights. I made really good money. The most money I've ever made in my life by far was last year. It was a beautiful year for me financially, but it took away a lot of time from my family. So those fights, I started fight camp for the first fight in February. So I was in fight camp from February all the way to the end of August. Like literally as soon as that fight with Clay ended, me and my wife, we went home. It was on a Wednesday. Her family, we usually go on vacation with them every year. Her family was on vacation that week. They were at the beach down in Jersey Shore. My 2 kids were there. My 2 older kids were there. So I had my fight Wednesday. We went home. I packed a small bag, and then literally the next morning, Thursday, we drove and surprised my kids and met them at the beach with the rest of her family. So I missed out on so much time with them for those fight camps that I was like, as soon as the fight was done, in my head, I was like, no, right now is when it starts. I got to start giving it back to them. So I spent so much more time with been able to spend so much more time with my wife and the kids. And it's really like developed into I've always had a phenomenal relationship with my kids, but it's even even stronger. Like I went to Chicago last week. I was gone for one night, and my kids were crying that I was leaving. I'm like, guys, I'm gonna be back tomorrow night. Like in the middle, I'm gonna be back. They're like crying, telling me how much they miss me. I'm like, oh my God, like I can't imagine when I'm away for a whole week for a fight week. So that's basically what I've been up to.
That's you're living the dream, man. I mean, I know that obviously you made all the sacrifices and stuff, but living the dream. I'm super happy to hear that. Mike, do you have anything that you want to ask him? We can move on from that.
No, I just wanted to ask Shane. It's interesting that you're here talking about the time spent with the kids, because obviously we've had these conversations, and you talked to me about activity being so key in this move to the PFL, and it feels like you had such a busy year last year, and then now you mentioned that you've had a little bit of time away. Of the activity levels of the PFL now moving from the regular season over to the super fights division, have they assured you that you will still get the level of activity that you were looking for?
Well, no, I know I won't get the same level of activity. I won't be able to fight 34 times in that short amount of time. But I accepted that, and I was okay with it because I busted my ass for the last the last one, and I saw how much, yeah, it paid off financially, but man, it really did take a toll on my kids, on my kids and on my wife, like how much how much of the slack that she had to pick up for it. So I was like, you know what? Not only that, but from the actual fighting style, like if you watch the fights in the PFL, like my last fight with Clay, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going old school Shane Burgos mode, and that's kind of what I did. The 2 fights before that, the OAM fight, he did just a good job at lulling me and making me kind of like I don't even know how to. He's very tricky. He's a southpaw. He's a very unorthodox style. So props to him. He did a good job. He was able to get the win. That felt like a bad sparring match more than a fight. I didn't really take any damage in that fight, but like I said, he not taking anything away from him. He did what he had to do to win. Then the second fight I had with Nishikawa, and I knew that I needed a quick finish to get the 6 points and obviously get into the playoffs. So I knew the path of least resistance for a guy that of his style. I was like, you know, I see a weakness here. I can take him down and I can beat him on the ground. So I was able to take him down easily. I got 3 takedowns every round. But the thing is, when I got him down, he didn't show any urgency to try to get up. And what I thought was that he's going to try to get up to his feet quick, and I'll be able to get his back and get a choke or something like that, or be able to do something. But usually that usually is what happens. But when I took him down 3 times, he never tried to get up. You know what I mean? He was just content laying in the guard and just smacking the crap out of my ears, which he did blow up my ear. Like I had some cauliflower after the fight, but I was expecting me to take him down, him try to get up, jump on his back and choke him. And there's my 6 points right there, but he never did that. So it kind of played against me where I went into the fight with a different game plan, the path of least resistance. And I got the win. It was a dominant win, obviously. But me focused on the points kind of took me away from being me. So then with the Clay fight, I was like, you know what? Screw that. Just be you. You weren't you for the last 2 fights. Just go in there and just be you. I came up short in that fight. I thought it was a really close fight. I'm not happy with it. Obviously, anytime you lose, you're not happy. I look back and I'm like, I hate watching myself fight, but I think I could have did a lot better. I think I would have done a lot better if I did some things different, but it is what it is. But I think that the season structure, what I'm getting at is it made me fight a little bit different in those first 2 fights, focusing on the points. You know what I mean? The first one I was like, I'm treating a regular fight, but the second one there was so much pressure to get a finish that I fought completely different. Obviously, I'm not really known for my wrestling or anything like that, which is funny because I can't wrestle really good, but yeah, it took the season base and the point base took the Shane Burgos out of the fight kind of until I got to the playoffs and I said screw it.
Yeah, so you sounds like you're more at home with the super fights division. It feels like you're more like you can sort of just focus on the fights as opposed to the structure.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, like you guys saw the lightweight division, their regular season fights. I thought they were phenomenal. A bunch of finishes. It was super fun to watch. I am a huge fan of it, but for me personally, I like the one-off fights where I don't have to think about that next fight in a couple weeks, where I don't have to think about I have to get these certain amount of points to get to that. You know what I mean? Because it adds I wouldn't even say that I felt necessarily pressure. I just felt like I don't know. It didn't feel like that kind of pressure. It just felt like I was too focused on getting points instead of just focusing on being me. With the fights being one off like this, I can focus on just doing what I know how to do best.
So I suppose the next question. Sorry, Jesse, because I suppose the next question then beckons is now you're in the super fight division. We've obviously seen the acquisition of Bellator by PFL. So the next question beckons. I know you won't have a name or an opponent right now, but who are the ideal names you would like to fight under the PFL super fight banner?
I don't know. I don't really know exactly how it works. If the PFL, if the guys in the season that don't make it to the playoffs, if they're going to be able to do it, or if just Bellator fighters are going to do it, I don't really know. I would have to do a little bit more research on that. And you might get some of the guys that are in the season right now that might be able to jump into it. So there's a bunch of tough guys and fun fights that are in the division now that are still obviously trying to fight to get to the playoffs. But if they don't make it to it, then there's a lot of good matchups aside from the PFL, but the Bellator acquisition too. There's a ton. So I'm excited to see who they give me next.
I would imagine there's a lot of unsigned fighters too, because the super fights haven't started yet. So they're sort of waiting for ideal scenarios to play out. When does that start exactly? I apologize, guys. When do the super fights start?
No, there is no date. I think they were waiting on Francis, because Francis is supposed to main event it, the first one against Henry Ferreira. So I think they were waiting on him to be good. Obviously, you just had that fight with Joshua, so they're waiting on him. So there was no date.
Do you envision yourself fighting on that card, or you don't know enough yet?
Yeah, that was the card that I was expecting
Okay.
to be on the one with him.
So I guess I want to shift gears here for a second. Jake Paul is obviously he's an investor in PFL. I'm sure you've heard the news that he's fighting Mike Tyson. Curious what your thoughts are on that fight. What do you make of it? They actually just announced earlier today that it's a pro-sanctioned fight, so it will be a pro fight. It's 14-ounce gloves, no headgear, which was a stupid rumor that was going around for a while. They were going to wear headgear. Knockouts are allowed. What are your thoughts on the fight? Who do you think wins? Just give us your overall take on it.
So overall take on it, I really was just shocked. I didn't expect it. I didn't see a point in it, really. I still kind of don't see the point. But aside from money, obviously it's gonna, like, for both those guys, I see the point. If I'm Jake Paul and if I'm Mike Tyson, yeah, there's a point. The point has a lot of zeros at the end of it. So I get it from their standpoint. But I think Jake's in a lose-lose situation with that kind of fight. Like, because if he beats Mike Tyson, who's 6 years old, what is he, 59, 58,
57.
everyone's going to be like, you beat the old man. And then if he loses or has a competitive fight with them, you lost or you had a competitive fight with a 57-year-old man. And then the fact that it's 2-minute rounds, you're going to, I props to him for not giving a shit what anyone thinks about him, because this one is a hard one for people to get behind, I think, honestly. If I'm just being honest, I'm not trying to be a hater. Like I said, if I'm him, yeah, it makes sense. I'm taking that fight too. It's gonna get eyeballs on me. And it's gonna make me a fat paycheck. Why would I not take that if I'm him? But from outsiders' perspective, I don't think it really does anything for him if he does win, which he's expected to win.
Right.
It almost feels like the final boss at the end of, like, the video game. Like, how do you get bigger when you're on this run of fighting old retired legends than the biggest legend still alive in Mike Tyson? Obviously, the age is a factor, but I guess the question I want to ask from your perspective, Shane, is, after this, what's next for Jake Paul? Because it feels like we're coming to an end at a certain stage of this old retired fighters kind of run that he's been on.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was gonna say. So it's like, when you win this fight, or if you do lose this fight, what's next for you? Because we saw, like, I think the best on paper fighter that he's fought was Tommy Fury, and he lost. That's his only loss. And Tommy Fury is not really known for being a very technical boxer or anything like that. Again, not trying to throw the shade or anything like that. But the best guy on paper he's fought is Tommy Fury, and Tommy Fury has a win over him. So I think if he wins or loses or whatever happens with this, I do think that he's gonna fight Tommy Fury next. Honestly.
Are you
as in a rematch, try to get that one back?
Jake Paul has said he wants to fight in MMA. Is that so he's supposed to fight for the PFL in MMA at some point or another? We still don't know. This is like a multi-layered question here, but is that a fight that you're interested in if that would be presented to you? And also, he said that he wants to fight either Jorge Masvidal or Nate Diaz. So I'm just curious, how do you think he would fare against either one of those guys?
So first off, yeah, obviously, because I'll make more money at that
Right.
fight. I already told my manager when I first found out that he was signing with them. I was like, okay, yeah, let him know. Just he's way bigger than me, but I really don't give a crap. Like, I've been in this game for so long that I'm like, if I don't have to cut weight and I can put some weight on, I was like, that sounds amazing to me. So yeah, sign me up for that. It sounds great to me, honestly. I would do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll happen. How do I think a fight with him and Jorge or Nate go? I think Nate would be a better matchup for him. Nate's a little bit slower and he's not really a wrestler, but I think Jorge smokes him. I really do. And I'm not trying to be a hater. I just think that the amount of fights, but again, with Nate, you can't sleep on Nate. Nate has cardio for days. If they do a 3-round fight, maybe I would lean towards Jake just for being younger and being able to just stick and move. But Jorge, I would be pretty confident in picking Jorge in that one.
Also, a lot of this depends on what Jake Paul actually looks like in MMA. We don't even know what the guy looks like in MMA. We have no idea. So it's like, we only know based on boxing.
So another thing I was gonna say too, I don't think the kid is stupid. Like, he's obviously a very smart businessman, but he's obviously, like, the fights he's had, he's very smart. I don't think he would ever just jump into his first MMA fight against somebody like Jorge Masvidal or Nate Diaz. I think they're gonna give him somebody that's 0-0, 1-0. 1-1, 0-1, somebody like that, just to get his feet wet. And then honestly, like, if he does do that and he smokes somebody, it builds the fight with Masvidal or one of those guys and makes it even bigger. So I think that his first fight, I don't think he's gonna fight one of these guys. If he does, props to him. I just don't think like I said, he's a smart kid. He's gonna do the smartest thing, and I think he's gonna fight somebody with the same level of experience as himself in MMA.
Fair enough. I wanted to get your take on this. I've talked to a couple of PFL fighters about this, and I'm sure it's, obviously there's a limit to what you can talk about or what you might want to talk about, but just curious what you thought about Dana White's criticism of PFL. He's a former employer of yours. Don Davis has come out and said that like Dana wouldn't be talking about the PFL and criticizing it as heavily if it wasn't on his radar in some way. He would just stay quiet about it. As a fighter, what are your thoughts on it? Do you give it much thought, or do you just go and do your job and don't worry about that sort of thing?
Yeah. I don't really give it much thought, but I do think that Don has a point, because if you really weren't worried or you really didn't care, then why even say anything? Like, oh yeah, PFL, they're doing their thing. Because like, I think he did say that back in the day, like maybe a year or two ago. He was like, "Oh, PFL, they're doing good over there, doing this or that," and now he's like roasting them. So I think that the fact that PFL and Bellator are together now there's a clear cut number 2 promotion. One I don't think is gonna last too much longer. So I think it's a clear cut that PFL is number 2 right now. So I think he kind of is in the position to have to roast them or try to deflect from any good that they would be doing. If you look at the roster the PFL has, like now with the Bellator acquisition, especially, like it's clear as day that you either want to be a UFC fighter or a PFL fighter. Those are the two promotions right now. So yeah. I think Dana's doing what he should be doing when he's a little bit. No, I wouldn't say worried. I don't think he's necessarily worried, because at the end of the day, UFC is going to be the UFC no matter what. But I do think that fighters doing more things like what I did, like fighting out your contract and seeing, I can get that much more money if I go over there. Yeah, maybe the arenas aren't as big. Maybe I don't get the Venom fight kit, but I'm going to be making a shit ton more money. Like I said, I made a lot of money last year. It was, and I'm not trying to say that to brag at all. It was, in hindsight's always 2020. Yeah, less people watched me fight technically, but I don't care. I made so much more money.
That's good to hear. Go ahead.
It's interesting as well, though, Shane, because obviously this is probably more on my radar as a European, but when we've seen Cedric Doumbé sign for the PFL over the UFC, we've just seen last week Paul Hughes, I don't know if you know, the super prospect from Ireland, sign with the PFL.
Exactly. Yep.
PFL is becoming a second option or another option for people to sign post great career on the regional scene. How important do you think that is for the health of the sport, that there's another option for people to sign earlier on in their career?
You basically just said it without saying it. It's super healthy for the sport. Like, you don't want to have the entire thing monopolized so that the UFC has has all the leverage. I think it's better for the fighters to have leverage, especially since we don't have any what do you call it? We don't have the fighters union. So this is what makes it. If you're not going to have a union, then you need a clear cut number 2 and number 3 promotion that you can get some leveraging power. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones that are going in there putting our. Dude, I have scars. I have things that I'll never be able to get. I'm not going to go into it, but things that I'll never be able to get back because of this sport. And when I said it a million times, when it's all said and done, I got to make sure that this was worth it. That I did all this to my body and possibly took years off my life. Don't let my wife hear that. For some money that's worth it. I can't be doing that for peanuts. I can't be doing it for after taxes get paid. I'm walking around with 20,000 in my pocket. That's I can't live like that with 3 kids, 3 daughters, a wife. I want to be a grandpa one day. I want to be there for my grand. But it's more important for the fighters and I love the sport, but I can't more about the fighters. So anytime I see one of these guys, like when Dana up those 300 UFC 300 bonuses to 300,000, and you saw how excited everybody got at that press conference. That's cool. It's cool. It's great. But it's like, I'm not trying to shit on them, but I'm like, they shouldn't be that much more excited, because listen, a $300,000 bonus, that's more than some of these guys are making in like 4 or 5 fights, honestly.
Yeah, that's what do you think about that? People have said that they should up the bonuses once you set that precedent, that going back to 50K is sort of like it feels almost like a little disrespectful at that point. Just in terms of like the bonus culture in general, what do you think about that? Do you feel like it should be higher? Do you feel like it should be based on are there certain qualifiers that you think should be in play? What do you think?
I didn't put that much thought into it, but that I mean, I guess you could put a little more into it. But I definitely think it should be higher. Like 50,000 is it's nice, but once you get to a certain level, 50,000, like after taxes, after paying your team, after
Yeah.
paying your man, yeah, I think it definitely should be higher again. After going 300,000, like that's a nice bonus. That is a nice bonus. I'm not saying 50,000 is not nice. Dude, I live in a townhouse. I don't live in a mansion or anything like that. So $50,000 is still nice, but I definitely think it's outdated at this point because even back when was it when GSP fought Jake Shields? I think they did $100,000 bonuses back then, right?
Oh wow, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I have a pretty good memory when it comes to that. That was at
Yeah.
they did the Cardinals, in Toronto. So he upped the bonus to 100,000 back then. So again, that was how long? How many years? That was what 14 years, 15 years ago.
Yeah. And also I think one championship did it too. They did it for with their America card. Their first America card, they upped it from 50K to 100K too. It just seems like doing it just for special events rather than setting the precedent league wide, event wide. I could understand why some fighters might take some issue with that. They're just not lucky enough to be put on that card. You know, it's not their fault.
Exactly.
Curious. This is actually one that I want Mike to weigh in on as well, because this is close to his. This is on his side of the pond. We've got. I don't want to talk too much about UFC here, but I got to get a fighter's perspective on this. UFC 304. They just announced it's going to be going down in Manchester, but it's going to be taking place at normal pay-per-view times. So it'll be 7 p.m. here in LA for when the main card starts, which will be 3 a.m. local time in Manchester, meaning the main event will be fought at 5:30 in the morning. So all the people in the crowd will be there way past their bedtime. As a fighter, what are your thoughts on that? How would you prepare for that? Just like, is that okay? Like, it seems crazy to me.
No, I was supposed to fight in on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi, and I was stressing about that because the times would be a little bit different too. But I can't imagine, especially because the card is going to be stacked with a bunch of British fighters, right? I think it is stacked with a bunch of fighters. So that means that they're on their time already. They're in their time zone, but they have to now switch their time zone and ask all their teammates and all their training partners to get ready and prepare. Maybe move the practices to like 11 p.m. at night and train from like 11 to like 1 a.m. So you have to tell your coaches, you have to tell your family, they got to all be up. They got to tell your teammates to be on board with that too. So now not only are you going to be paying your coaches, I mean, I guess you're going to want to take care of your teammates that are staying up at night training with you, right? So I saw that and I was like, dude, you have to give me a bonus off the bat to want to do that. That sounds brutal to be. I'm in bed by like 9 p.m. So I can't imagine if I had to get up and go to training around 11 p.m. I couldn't imagine that. So I feel for those guys. That sucks. I guess they're doing it just to keep it on. They're trying to sell pay-per-views, and obviously in America, because I don't think there's any pay-per-views in Europe, right? Pay-per-view doesn't work in Europe.
No, there is a pay-per-view, but obviously the biggest market is the US market by far. Nobody cares about us.
Okay. All right. So then I heard most countries in Europe don't have pay-per-views, so they just get it for free. But obviously, yes, they're trying to sell to America, so they gotta kind of pander to the Americans. But that sucks, man. I just wouldn't want to do it personally.
Mike might have to cover it. You
I
might
have to cover it. I might have been. There is so they did it for Bisping fought Dan Henderson in 2016, and they did the exact same thing. And a few of my journalist buddies told me that the UFC PR team at 5 a.m. walked around the media row with cans of Monster Energy and asked if anybody wanted them to keep them up, which is a very strange thing for a PR team to have to do to the media row.
Yeah,
so,
I was gonna say, listen, if I was doing PR or anything else other than fighting, okay, I can suck it up. All right, whatever. I'll just crush an energy drink. It's gonna suck, but yeah. But to have to perform at the highest level for a world title, or right, there's 2 title fights I think on it, or is it 1?
Yeah, I think Leon,
the huge fights performing at the highest level. I would I would be like, no, I'm not gonna be available for that day. I'm sorry.
What are the alcohol regulations either? Like you got to sell alcohol too at the event. And can you sell alcohol? Like here in LA, you can't pass 2 a.m. It's illegal. So I don't know what it is in the UK. I have no idea what the rules and regulations are.
There's no limits.
Okay, that makes
limits.
sense.
That's one of the only things my country's good at is drinking. So it's that That will be there will
Right.
be pints getting served at 5 o'clock in the morning as Leon's
I,
walkout
I
happening.
imagine that's how the fans are going to be staying up if I were
Yeah.
to a lot of Red Bull vodkas.
Out of interest, Shane, it,
That
is is there a perfect time for you that you would like to fight? Like if the PFL came to you and said you can pick the time of the day that you would like to fight, are you a morning guy, are you an afternoon guy, late in evening? Where would be your preference if you could pick?
around 7 or 8 p.m. That's like the ideal time. I think that's like the best time. My last fight I fought around 11:30, which it wasn't terrible, but that's like the latest I want to go. But then like my first fight with OAM, I fought at 4:30 p.m. because I was in Vegas. That was like almost too early. I felt like I was rushed for time. And then my last fight in the UFC with Charles Jourdain, I had to leave the hotel at 11 a.m. to get, because I think I was the card started super early. I don't remember what time off the top of my head it started. But my fight was around 2 p.m. So I had to leave the hotel at 11 a.m. to get there. And that was way too early. I don't like fighting where I have to wake up and just go right away. That's kind of what it felt like. So I'd say around 8 p.m. is like the ideal time.
Yeah, I know baseball players talk about that a lot. They have to fight. They have to fight. They have to play at night, so they base their schedule around like they're up. It's like noon is when they start getting their day going. So they gotta play till like 11 o'clock at night sometimes. So that makes sense to me. I'm in bed by 10:30, so I wouldn't be able to hang.
No.
We're almost out of time here. Quickly, what did you think of Max? Oh, former featherweight opponent or in the same division, Max Hollway got the big knockout at UFC 300. Just curious what you thought about that and where it ranks in terms of all-time knockouts in all of MMA.
That moment, that knockout, those last 10 seconds, that's going to be iconic. That's going to live on in MMA forever. Like that, I watched it and I said to my friends, I was like, wow, you guys, like, that's going to be one of those moments that you're going to see that forever. Like, it's like Edson Barboza doing the spinning hook kick. It's Jorge Masvidal doing the flying knee. Like, you're never going to not see that at a UFC event. That's going to be one of those that just lives on forever. I was like, that's pretty freaking cool that this dude that he was kind of counted out, I think, especially at 155 against Justin, who's looked phenomenal against Dustin in his last fight. Even me, I was like, I think Justin's going to win. I think I got Justin by decision, and he did the complete opposite. Not only did he win every single round, but he knocked him out with 2 seconds left. It was like my jaw dropped on the floor. I really couldn't. I did not see that happening. I didn't see that a knockout happening, but obviously it's MMA. Anything can happen with MMA. So the knockout doesn't really surprise me. The 5 rounds, how sharp and crisp, and he looked phenomenal. That was one of the most impressive performances, especially just in my opinion, because I really thought Justin was going to be able to pick him apart and use his size. I would watch Justin versus Fiziev, and I thought Fiziev is a phenomenal striker. So I was like, if Justin can kind of stick and move the way he did against Fiziev, he'll be able to do that against Max just because he's bigger than him. Max looked phenomenal. Max looked like he should be a 55er. I don't think he should go back to 45, honestly.
Yeah. Honestly incredible. Like I remember when I was watching it, before I was watching it, I didn't think it was actually possible for Holloway to knock him out because I thought that Holloway had trouble knocking out featherweights to begin with. So it was just shocking to me that even happened. That's all I got. Mike, I don't know if you got anything else for him, but that's it for me.
I've got a question to finish off, Shane. And you being the knockout artist that you are and liking to get those KOs, I'm wondering what makes a good KO for you, because there's a lot of context around a good KO. I mean, part of the greatness of McGregor Aldo was how early it was. Part of the greatness of the Holloway KO is how late it was. A lot of people say it
Yes.
depends on how the opponent falls and the context around that. So I'm wondering for you personally, what makes a great knockout?
Oh man, that as bad as it sounds, it's how the guy falls. Honestly, like when you hit him and his eyes roll back, and this sounds very like dark, but when you hit him and his eyes roll back, and he just, again, this part is terrible. When their heads hit the back of the ground, the back of their heads hit the mat. That's where you're just like, oh, it's almost hard to watch it back. Like one of my favorite knockouts, Rashad Evans versus Chuck Liddell. Like that's one of those knockouts that I'm like, oh my gosh, like have to wake up from that like headache. Another one is Ilia Topuria versus Jai Herbert, your countryman. I was like, oh God, man, the force that went behind the punch is almost, like I said, it's almost hard to watch. It looks like a car crash is happening. So I think that there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, then you get the flying knees or like the head kicks or stuff like that. Cool. Like Mirko Cro Cop is one of my favorite fighters of all time, and I've been chasing a head kick knockout for forever. I still haven't got it. Maybe one day before I hang the gloves, I'll get that one. But there's so much that goes into it. But I think it sounds terrible to say, but the way the guy falls is what makes it really highlight reel worthy.
I agree, but I'd rather you say it than me since you're the pro fighter. So I'll leave it there.
Also, there's something about when a guy is losing a fight and he gets the knockout. I feel like that adds a little extra juice for me personally.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree. If you're talking about that, like Max was picking Justin apart and then got the knockout. Like had it been the other way around, Max was picking him apart and then got knocked out. That would have probably made it even crazier, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
So there's a lot of factors. Good question.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got, man. Thank you so much for your time. Let's end it here. So where does Shane Burgos want to see himself by the end of 2024? You know, we're almost at the end of April. How many more fights do you want? Where do you want to see yourself?
Yeah, I would love it. I would love 2 fights. One, I would be content with at least one, obviously. But yeah, I definitely see myself getting another fight in, and winning. Winning is my number one objective in this thing. I don't do this just for fun. I don't do it for the paycheck anymore. Like I'm doing it to win. I hate losing. I lost 2 out of my last 3. It makes me sick to my stomach. So I hate even having to vocalize that. So I just need to win. That's what I visualize. That's what I see happening. And it doesn't matter who's across the cage for me. Just getting my hand raised another day.
Couldn't agree more. Well, we'll be rooting for you, man. We hope you make that happen. And yeah, thank you guys so much, Mike. Thank you for staying up late and chatting with us a little bit. Thank you for your first time. Good job. First time on the podcast. Well done, sir. Well done.
No, thank you, Jesse. The pleasure is all mine. And as always, thank you for your time, Shane. Always good catching up. And maybe get one of these fights booked in England so I can watch you in person. That would be nice for me. But just, if you can pull any strings at PFL, then, do your boy a solid.
I'll keep you posted, all right, brother?